Welcome to the Ozone.
Hello and welcome to the Ozone. I'm your host, Jeff Hazard, Assistant Director of Athletics and Sports Information Director here at SUNY Oneonta. And on tonight's episode, I have the pleasure of welcoming Hall of Fame basketball player Sheryl Nichols. Welcome to the show, Sheryl.
Hello, Jeff. Thank you for having me.
Quite a different time that we're living in with the pandemic and all, and we'll get to that as you know, because I know you're pretty heavily involved on your campus where you are in Florida with some of that planning. So we'll get a chance to talk about that a little later in the show. But just to give people a little background on your playing career here, you ended up as our all-time and still are our all-time leading scorer, and you also lead us in assists and steals. And you were SUNYAC Player of the Year the year that we won our first women's basketball title in the conference, which is quite an accomplishment. I know that probably when you came here as a freshman, maybe you didn't think, 4 years later that you'd be at the top of the hill.
Not at all.
But let's start there. How did you find your way to Oneonta?
How did Oneonta find me? So I am the seventh child from immigrant parents from Jamaica. And so we moved to this small town in upstate New York in the Catskills called Monticello. And there's not very much to do in Monticello, New York. So I just started playing sports. And I was a 3-sport athlete all the way up to high school, went to 2 sports, and then basketball found me. So I stayed with basketball. And we had a rival basketball team that we played every year. And in my senior year, the coach from the rival basketball team had Coach Garner come over to watch their player play. And that coach told him about me. Oh. And so he decided to come watch one of my games, and it was history from there. Oneonta was the place that I felt like I needed to be because at the time they offered elementary education. That was always going to be my dream, to be an elementary education teacher. And I had the opportunity to play basketball. Never thought it possible. So there I was, freshman, bright-eyed on the campus of Oneonta, ready for whatever.
Now, of course, when Coach Garner took over the program, that was kind of a big transition time for us. And I believe that you came in with 5 or 6 other players in that freshman class.
Yes.
And I think that was where they said this is going to be the building block for potential success or whatever we think we're going to get to. When you came in as a freshman, did you see that or feel that? I mean, was there a lot of expectations? Were people telling you that this is the group?
I heard it a lot. I don't know. It was weird. It was a new experience for us. For me, at least, I can't speak for the other ladies, but here we are. We're at college for the first time, and we have these other athletes with us. We're supposed to play together as a team. We didn't know what to expect. We all knew we loved basketball, and we all knew that we were going to give it 110%. I'm not sure if freshman year we decided that we were going to go all the way. I think there was a point in our career, maybe second year, where we said we can absolutely do this. And it was amazing for us to stay together as a team. I think there were 4 that stayed, and then Angie Velasco came on. She was a transfer, and she came on and she rounded out the team, and we were unstoppable. I think every year we committed to get better. Even in the off season, we just had a goal that we were going to get better every single year, and we just never stopped. So as we grew, as we matured and as we grew, I think our vision grew and our determination grew to just, let's make it happen. And that's all we did, day in and day out. Right.
Now, looking back at those season records from that time from 94 to 98, you could see the incremental improvement.
Yes.
And like you said, I think that second year you made a jump to 15 wins or something, you know what I mean?
Yes.
That's a big jump going to 15 wins. It's pretty hard to win 15 games in any basketball season. So so the mood of the team, I mean, could you see it within the team and the players?
Yeah, there was definitely an energy. Like we fed off of each other. We started to learn each other's strengths. We learned just um, what each of our roles were. We were starting to fit into our roles,
Yeah.
and we wanted to, even in practice, we practice as if we were playing because we wanted us all to get better. You know, you play as you practice. So there was no slacking in practice. I would make them run, they would make me run, and we were a team in the true sense of the word team. When you bring a group of ladies from different walks of life, different everything,
Yeah.
that we can come together and have one vision and work towards that one vision, like that personal responsibility and ownership.
Yeah.
It was just amazing. So when we walked into practice, it was like we were walking into a championship game. Like we gonna leave all the sweat on the floor.
Wow.
And as I talk about it now, I get excited, like I want to go
Yeah.
practice right now. But
I'm sure you could probably still play.
I don't know. I haven't, I've tried not to go past my prime, but it was just, and one of the things that I think I enjoyed the most was we celebrated each other. It wasn't about, I didn't get as many points as I wanted to get, or if Christina shot the lights out and I got 5 assists, I was okay with that. Like that was my teammate. That was a contribution to the team. And Angie, as she grabbed boards and when it was on, and we just celebrated each other. I don't think there was anybody that was jealous about anybody else's success, which is what made us even more powerful.
Right.
Because we knew when we were off, we made sure somebody else was on,
Right.
and we just made it work.
Right. Now, of course, in building any program, successful program, of course, you have to continue to recruit other players and bring them into the fold. So what was it like? Because, of course, again, that freshman class that was brought in seemed to be the impetus for what happened 4 years later.
Right.
How did that mesh with the players that came after you to try and get them to kind of be in that same mentality?
Well, I think it was Tom that was, he came on board and he was doing a lot of the recruiting as well. And he had such a passion about what we did and who we were. And so when young ladies were coming to the team, we loved on them, but we let them know, listen, you're not top dog here.
Yeah.
You're going to have to earn that spot, and we're going to help you earn that spot. But we have these expectations of you. There's no prima donnas in here. We're going to work hard. We're going to steal the ball from you. We're going to box you out. You're going to fall on the floor. We're going to take you through it.
Yeah.
If you can do that and you can show that you can continue to contribute, even if you don't get the playing time you should get,
Right.
We welcome them as a family.
Yeah.
Because we saw that as an opportunity to leave a legacy even with them, because it wasn't about us. It was the family of the team, and whoever was going to be on that bench and come in after us, they knew what they were coming in for and as. So we wanted to make sure they were ready.
Right.
We wanted to have a deep bench that no matter who
Yeah.
we threw at them, they knew that the Dragons came ready to play.
Yes.
So it was exciting. It was exciting. The recruits were always just so excited about what the women's basketball team was doing, because I don't even think in our region that there was as much energy around women's basketball as what I felt was happening at Oneonta.
Right.
I can't speak for any other team. Any other team was
Yeah.
not in my
Right.
mirror there in my window. So
Right.
they felt that when they came. So that was fun. It was
Yeah.
really fun working with the recruits.
Now, is there one moment that stands out, during your 4 years here?
Oh gosh, there's so many.
Yeah.
I still have, if you can see behind me on the wall, that one frame at the bottom by the flowers.
Yeah.
That was that championship game when we beat our rival, Geneseo.
Yeah.
And a photographer captured that moment where it was Bev, Shackle, myself, and Ange. And we just had this look of elation, like this just happened. Like it was the pinnacle of 4 years,
Yeah.
just like what we wanted to see happen what we were working towards, like it happened.
Right.
And I tell people all the time, unless you've actually been on a championship stage, sometimes it's hard to even explain that when you get to that point, nothing is impossible once you get to that level, because the work you put into it up to that point. So I still have that. I think that is my moment.
Yeah.
That was that moment there.
Yeah. Now that year, I believe that we were the first women's team ever to run the table in the SUNYAC and not lose a game, which,
Yes.
again, you think of the history of the SUNYAC and some of the teams, Cortland, Geneseo, Brockport, and
Yes.
for Oneonta to kind of have that mantle first, you know what I mean? That's got to be special
Yes.
as well.
Yes, and I think we also had another stronger player. She was a year or so behind us, Marianne Courtney.
Okay.
Like, she was also that, we had little, I don't know what you would call them, like assassins, silent assassins, and she was one of them. That she was dependable, she was reliable, and we couldn't have gotten to where we were unless it was for the entire team. It wasn't just the starting five. It was the entire team, the entire bench, the coaching staff, the fans, the faculty. Like, that last year was so energetic that when the game was over and the championship was over, we knew we were going to go to the NCAAs. That was the first time ever. And I think we were still back at championship game when we played, I don't even remember their name. I don't even want to remember their name, in the first round. Yeah, in the first round. But that was just like, it was breathtaking. It was amazing.
So, of course, basketball is a big part of your time here at Oneonta, but certainly, the more important things would be your education and business economics major. Why don't you talk a little bit about that experience and, just kind of how much you enjoyed that as well?
Well, like I said in the beginning, I left to come to Oneonta, went to Oneonta because I thought I was going to be pursuing elementary education. And I think the first year it was a little challenging trying to balance transitioning to life on my own, no boundaries, nobody keeping me on track. Basketball did that for me.
Okay.
Because I knew, because I loved it so much, I needed to push through in whatever I needed to keep my academics up, because that was the only way I was going to keep on playing basketball.
Right.
So that was my accountability. So no matter the struggles that I had, I pushed through. I tell this story all the time. There was a pivotal time for me. I was on the bus riding from campus going to my apartment. I had moved off after the first year. And one of the schools that the teachers, the elementary education students go to teach or to do their teaching or their practicum, it was right there at the bus stop. I can't remember what school it was. And I was sitting at the window seat and I looked out and I saw all these little kids screaming and running around. And all my peers were trying to corral them. And I said, at that moment, I had an epiphany. This is not what I wanted to do. I am not at that place where I have the patience to do this.
Right.
And I remembered the next day I went in and I changed my major to business economics. There was a lot of faculty there that kept up with the basketball team, and those classes, it made it fun for me because I felt like I related to them. They related to me from sports.
Yeah.
So it made it comfortable to ask the professors questions, to get support from them, to get help from them as I'm trying to navigate who goes from elementary education to business economics. I remember my macroeconomics class, and I was like, what is this? And I actually did a great job in the class. So basketball and education for me, the basketball did it for me, and the professors were amazing. It all was just like, it went by just like that. It started out slow, and as we ramped up, it was just like the time just flew. Right. And sometimes I have to go back and look at my transcript and say, well, how did I really do? Because, I can't tell you I did, the absolute best.
Right.
But I did what I needed to do to get my education and to have the full experience, because I knew I was a student athlete. Yeah. And I knew I had to represent not only on the court, but off the court too, right. And in the classroom. So it just, I don't know, it just made me all around a better student.
So now, just looking at some of the information that you provided to me about some of the things that you did or have done since
Yes.
graduation. Of course, you spent a little time in banking and some major corporations such as Price Waterhouse and Coopers doing some of that things. But then you found mentorship and helping people and supporting students.
Yes.
And that's really kind of where I want to go now, because the rest of your time now moving forward has been in that area. You know, you went back, you got a master's degree, you've got a doctorate degree, but now you're working on a second doctorate degree. So
No, I don't have my first one yet. This is my first one.
Oh,
yes.
okay, okay.
Yeah, it's my first one.
So, but to get to that point, like you said, you know, maybe you had like you finally found your passion. And I know that just in the brief times that I've been able to talk with you and see you speak in front of a group, you can see the passion, you know, of mentoring and being a role model. So maybe talk a little bit about how you really did find that direction and what you're doing with that now.
You know, I have to go back to how I got to where I am, and it was because of my parents. And my mom had an 8th grade education. My dad did not finish high school, but they knew the value of education. And I can't tell you that they had enough people around them that helped them to help us understand like all of the nuances of college and
Right.
education. And because of that, I wanted to be that person that if I cross paths with someone, that I help them to understand how education is the door of so many opportunities that people can't take from you. And that part in terms of education mentorship just comes naturally. The sports mentorship, I mean, I know what it did for me. And so I try to do what I can to pour back into another young person's life, because when they have sports in their lives, it just does something for your self-esteem. It does something for your work ethic, for your leadership, and just empowers you as an individual. So those two areas for me were, you know, wherever I could, I did. And I started actually at Oneonta at the basketball camp that we had every summer. And I remember the first camp that I did, and there was this one young lady from the camp that she just kind of latched on to me. And here I was, this just junior in college, you know, pouring into this young student's lives. Like, it's powerful for me, and I don't take that for granted. We have such a position when you are on a stage like we were in college, and you have these young athletes looking up to you, these young students looking up to you. Every word you speak to them could be life altering. Everything they observe you do could be life altering. And I realized that that I had that, and I needed to make sure I protected that. I needed to make sure I developed that, and I needed to make sure that I was responsible with it. And so every opportunity that I had, I tried to just encourage somebody, and it just, you know, there's a scripture that says your gift will make room for you. And I don't know where the gift of or the talent of basketball really came from. I never went to a camp. It just was a natural talent for me.
Right.
And so what I have, I try to pass on. I don't try to hold it for myself. And so sometimes, you know, I get people that gravitate towards me, and it happens. I don't know how else to explain that. And
Right.
even at the college that I was at too, that I'm at now,
Right.
it
Right.
just,
Because you're involved in the area of student engagement, a lot of your, you know, background stuff.
Yes.
You know, right now you're the associate vice president,
vice president. Yes.
which you said is the first one in the college's history,
Yes.
which is pretty amazing that, you know, that you're stepping into this. But I mean, do you look at that as, is that a reward for hard work, or is that, you know what I mean? Like, is that like,
You know, this Beacon College is such a unique college, and I share about Beacon all the time, because it was just like Oneonta found me, Beacon College found me.
okay.
I went to this college wanting to share my passion for helping people find their niche in education, you know, find out what they can do. But there's this college that focuses on students that have learning and attention issues that did not think college was an option.
Right.
Did not think that they would have a place where there is an institution that helps them based on how they learn. That was bigger than me. And my little bit that I can contribute, that's all I went there for. And every day from the day I started, every student inspired me, because the things we take for granted, they work 10 times as hard just to keep up with the daily getting to class, remembering this, trying to figure out how this works. And I wanted to be a part of their world, and I wanted to help them to recognize their power, recognize their ability, recognize their talent, and let them know that they are valuable and they are smarter than the rest of us. I consider myself having a disability. They have the abilities, and we look at that in reverse.
Right.
You know, they've had to live with their learning difference, and they've done a fabulous job with it. So I can't say it's a reward. I don't know if it's a reward. I'm grateful for the opportunity to impact the mission and the vision in the college in any way possible.
Right.
Any way possible. Because to me, you're helping a student create a legacy. You're helping a family create a legacy. And that's something that at some point in their life they never thought was possible.
Right.
I mean, every day they have a win.
Right.
Every day for them, when they graduate from the college, it's like I felt when I won the championship.
Yeah.
So that in itself is my reward every single day.
Okay.
Every single day.
Again, just getting back to, we're living in a pandemic right now with a lot of activities, colleges either not in session, they're all remote, virtual. Athletics have been suspended and canceled at our level anyway. I mean, obviously they're playing in Division I, most sports.
Right.
So from your perspective, what kind of advice would you give to those young people who they're struggling, mentally, they want to play their sport, they want to, be on campus, they want to be with their friends, social interaction. I mean, what kinds of things would you say to them, and what do you say to the students at your college?
Well, I know Beacon has created a community for them where they feel responsible for how the community gets along. It's not our community, it's their community. And I can tell you, when we had to go remote like the rest of the world, we were more high touch during that time with them because our students mean that much to us. And I'm not saying every other institution, they don't, but we just understood how much more it meant for our students to be able to have some kind of connection.
Right.
And that's what I saw with a lot of institutions. When things went remote, it was like every man for himself.
Yeah.
Well, our students they're not afforded that. And our parents of our students are not afforded that. So we did Zoom conferences with parents like every other week because we need to partner with them.
Right.
And make sure that they understood what we were doing as an institution to support their student, because we don't know what home was like for them. If there's other little kids there, when you have students with learning and attention issues and there's other little kids in the house and now they're trying to learn remote, it's never been done like Beacon did it. And so because the students, we connected with them and stayed connected with them, they were ready to come back to their community. But they understood what it meant when you come back, what you had to do personally to be able to remain in your community.
Right.
It wasn't just about the administrators. They are the ones that were responsible for keeping our community safe. And so our president, he is the visionary. Our administrators, we just all kind of came together and said, what do we need to do to make this happen? And we started planning, like we were talking about before the segment started. We started planning when everything was shut down about how we were going to reopen.
Wow.
And we slowly reopened our institution, and we've had students on campus since June.
Wow.
And we are now to the point where they're wrapping up their semester. So I would tell students, find that person on your campus, that college professor, that administrator. What kind of connection did you make?
Right.
because Vincent Tinto has this dropout theory that there's three levels of engagement that if a student doesn't have, they have a higher percentage of dropping out. It's peer engagement, institutional engagement, and educational engagement. And if they don't have any of those, then there is no connection to the institution. It doesn't matter if you have remote learning.
Right.
It doesn't matter if they're on campus. If they are not engaged, if they have not found something to tether them to that institution, they don't see the value in keeping themselves safe. They don't see the value of how it impacts the next person or their institution overall. So I would say to students, if you know you want to be back in your community and you know that this is important to you, then you be the leader. You set yourself apart and make up in your mind that you're going to be responsible and you're going to be that example for somebody else.
Yeah.
And our students, gosh, I brag on them all the time because this is considered an at-risk population.
Right.
And they have navigated and managed. We did testing every 2 weeks. We had a beacon bubble, so they weren't allowed to go out past a certain boundary, and they followed it. All of the guidelines that the CDC gave us, we had arrows, tapes, everything. They followed it. Wow. We did temperature checks at every single meal, temperature every day, to the point where if somebody was not available to do the temperature checks, they would wait until we got there to do the temperature checks.
Wow.
So, for institutions, what is it how are you connected to your students? What do you do to show your students you're connected with them when they're not on campus?
Right.
And how do you help them to understand the value of being responsible for their community? Because we're teaching them to be citizens outside of the college.
Right.
And I think if most of us understood that, maybe our pandemic wouldn't be going rampant the way that it is, because maybe everybody values their community and they want to keep it safe. So.
Right. And I think that's really kind of the goal of our reopening plan here at Oneonta for the second semester is, the students have got to take a little bit more responsibility for maybe what they didn't do in the fall, when we shut down and had to send everyone home. So I believe that that's really where we're focusing as well. So, so, I guess, I want to thank you for coming on. It's really been a pleasure to see you. You look great.
Thank you.
You probably could still play. But I just wanted to, thank you for being such a role model and a mentor for so many young people. And we do need mentors and role models. And I know that, again, I've had very limited exposure to you and a couple times that you were here on campus, but you can just see it, like you said, it just kind of people gravitate towards you. And our student athletes, did the same thing when you were here.
Thanks,
so
Jeff.
that's really important. So what we're doing, a fun thing to end all of my shows this year, I'm going to fire some questions off at you, and I want you to just come up with the first thing that comes to your mind. Real simple stuff, So,
you got me at the end of the day.
Well, you'll be good.
Okay, we'll see. See what comes out.
All right. What's your favorite meal?
Breakfast.
Breakfast. Any part of breakfast? What do you like to have in the morning? Some fruit?
I think I'm an eggs person. I'm a scrambled eggs person, some fruit. Some energy food.
All right, that's good. What's your favorite movie?
Oh, Love and Basketball.
Oh, there you go. Good one.
Love and Basketball.
What is your favorite genre of music?
I remember when I moved to this country. I won't tell you when. But the R&B and jazz was, I think it's not the R&B today.
No. Right.
R&B from like 20 years ago. When they talk about caring for each other and loving each other. I can't tell you what it's about this time, but and some jazz. I've learned to appreciate jazz now because it helps to bring me down from the day.
Yeah, I tell you, so far with some of the shows, I think jazz has been the number one choice. So that's good. Maybe at the end I'll do a poll myself and just kind of keep track of what everyone says, right?
Yeah.
Who's your favorite athlete all time?
Favorite athlete? Oh, it's not going to be basketball. Peyton Manning.
Peyton
Peyton
Manning.
Manning.
Does he?
And huh?
Well, I was just going to say he just has it. You know what I'm saying? Like he played football, he had it. He's on. He's doing these commercials.
Thank you,
like
Jeff. Yes.
he is perfect in anything he does.
Yes. And he's just always just this stand-up guy and just Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning. Yes, great choice. Great.
Thank you.
And the last question: place you would most like to visit?
Tahiti is coming to mind.
Okay.
I was at one point I wanted to go to Hawaii. I will never do that flight. I can never do that long. I can't.
Yeah.
Tahiti. I want to go somewhere warm, even more tropical than Jamaica. I don't know if that's possible. But I want to compare tropical islands. I want to, so Tahiti would be a good one.
All right. Well, once again, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule because I know you are a very busy woman. And,
well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to have you on the show. And certainly we wish you continued success and best of health to you and your family. And hopefully we'll be able to maybe get you back to campus soon.
Absolutely. And I wish Oneonta the best. And I thank you so much, Jeff, for all that you're doing to keep us connected as alumni and as former student athletes. And again, I never thought that I would be doing a podcast after I left Oneonta, but here you go. Here you have it again. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Well,
thank you so much.
Well, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. So I'd like to once again thank Sheryl for coming on the show, and I'd like to thank you for joining us once again. Just a reminder that you can watch our video on our YouTube channel, or you can download or listen to our podcast on our website and some of the more popular podcast sites out there. So thank you for joining me, and we'll see you next time in the Ozone.